There's a strange kind of freedom that comes the moment you finally realize this. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Not for who you are, not for what you've become, not for the decisions you made when your back was against the wall and your soul was worn thin. You don't owe it to your family. You don't owe it to your friends. And you certainly don't owe it to a society that only pretends to understand you when you follow its script. Most people will never understand the battles you fought silently. They will never grasp the nights you stayed awake, just trying to keep your mind from collapsing into itself, or the mornings you forced yourself out of bed when everything in you was screaming to stay down. And yet, they'll be the first to question you when you choose to walk away from what drains you. But silence is powerful. It's not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's control. And in a world addicted to reaction, to constant commentary, to impulsive validation, silence is rebellion. It's dignity. It's knowing that your energy is sacred, that your life is not a courtroom where strangers get to cross-examine your soul. The more deeply you understand yourself, the less inclined you feel to explain yourself to others. Because you start to recognize something vital, that explanations are often a way of seeking permission. And once you stop seeking permission, you begin to own your life completely. Think about how often people pressure you to defend your boundaries. You set a line, and suddenly you're made to feel guilty for not bending. You say no, and they look at you like you're cruel. But what they don't see is the years of self-abandonment that led you to finally say no. What they don't hear is the voice inside you that was silenced for too long, the one that kept whispering, "This isn't right for me." We are conditioned to over-explain ourselves because somewhere along the way we learned that being understood was the same as being accepted. But it's not. Being understood is a luxury. Being at peace with yourself is a necessity. There is something deeply stoic about not reacting, not defending, not trying to be seen. The moment you detach from the need to be liked, to be justified, to be validated by anyone outside of yourself, you become untouchable. You become dangerous because you're no longer operating on the same emotional currency as those around you. You're no longer spending your time proving your worth to people who only value you when it's convenient. You begin to embody the kind of power that comes from restraint, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself, because it radiates in your presence, in your quiet, in your refusal to be shaken. Revenge, too, changes form when you grow. You stop seeking to hurt those who hurt you. You stop fantasizing about making them understand your pain. Your silence becomes the ultimate retaliation, not because it's cold, but because it's evolved. Because you've realized that the most devastating thing you can do to someone who once controlled you is no longer needing to say a single word to them. There is no louder sound than the absence of a reaction. And when you master that, you stop bleeding energy on people who were never worthy of it in the first place. And I'll tell you, there is a loneliness that comes with this strength. A heavy, quiet loneliness. Because most people are still stuck in the noise. They're still chasing approval, still giving explanations for choices that were never anyone's business to begin with. But if you can sit with that silence, if you can learn to find comfort in your own clarity, you will never go back to who you were. You will start to understand the kind of man or woman you are becoming. Someone who moves with calm, not chaos. Someone who speaks when it's necessary and remains still when it's not. Someone who no longer needs to be seen because they've seen themselves. There's no need to shout your boundaries from the rooftops. The right people will feel them, and the wrong ones will test them. That's how you know the difference. But don't let the wrong ones pull you into performance. You don't need to convince anyone that you've changed. Let your silence speak for itself. Let your detachment show them that you've outgrown the version of you that tolerated their chaos. There's no need to explain your peace. No need to translate your healing into a language they understand. Growth is not a group project. You don't owe anyone a play-by-play of your transformation. Some things are meant to be lived, not justified. There's power in not answering the call, power in not returning the text, power in walking away without slamming the door, because that's when people start to feel your absence. That's when they start to realize they never really knew you. They only knew the version of you that made them comfortable. And when that version disappears, they'll panic. They'll demand an explanation. But don't give it to them. Not because you're cruel, but because you've grown. Because you now know that some stories don't need to be retold. They just need to be ended. This is what emotional strength looks like. It's quiet. It's disciplined. It's choosing peace over drama, clarity over chaos, and control over impulse. It's walking away when you could have argued. It's staying silent when you could have exposed them. It's letting go when you could have held on just to prove a point. That's power. And the people who don't understand it were never meant to walk with you anyway. So no, you don't owe anyone an explanation for where you're going. You don't owe them one for what you've left behind. Your life is not a press conference. Your pain is not for public consumption. And your peace is not a negotiation. Let them wonder. Let them sit with the silence. And you keep walking forward. And if you're still here, still listening, then maybe you're one of the few who understands that silence is not weakness, that walking away without a word can be louder than 1,000 explanations, that not responding isn't giving up, it's rising above. You've carried too much, for too long. You've been bending, twisting, trying to fit into spaces that were never meant for you, trying to explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. And maybe, just maybe, you're finally done. You don't need to justify your healing. You don't owe anyone your pain in digestible pieces. You don't need to wrap your truth in soft words to make others comfortable. What you owe to yourself is peace, is clarity, is self-respect. And that begins the moment you stop feeling obligated to be understood by those who never earned the right to hear your story. So let this be your permission. Not from me, not from anyone else, but from that quiet part of yourself that already knew. You are allowed to detach. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to disappear from the noise and choose your own rhythm. In fact, you must. And if this message reached you at the right moment, then carry it forward. Share it. Not because it's trendy, not because it's popular, but because there is someone out there, right now, clinging to the edge of their strength, waiting for permission to stop explaining themselves too. And if you haven't already, subscribe, not just to support the channel, but to join a space where silence is sacred, where stillness is strength, where you are not judged for choosing yourself. This isn't just a video. It's a moment of truth, a breath of relief, a reminder that the more you reclaim your silence, the more you reclaim your power. You don't owe anyone an explanation. And that is the most powerful thing you'll ever realize. Stay grounded, stay silent, stay free.